your home for Northeast Ohio soccer. This is Breaking Lanes.
Welcome back to the Breaking Lanes podcast. My name is Logan Congram, and joining me today are members of the Florida Southern College men's soccer team. Go ahead and go down the line, introduce you guys selves, and talk about what you're here for. What are you doing up here in Ohio?
Yeah, Ashley Holmes. I'm the head coach of the men's soccer program, and just up here, just kind of checking out the academy. I've known John for a little bit of time, been an alumni, and just pleased to be here, really.
Antony Moore, assistant coach at Florida Southern College. Just glad to see another part of America and get the boys training up here.
I'm Tommy Smith, one of the goalkeepers of Florida Southern, and just up here for a bit of training camp before spring break. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm Lasse Detmer. I'm a junior goalkeeper as well. Came here to practice, but also see defense at Ohio a little bit.
Awesome. All right, before we get started, I got to pull my hat out.
Oh, yeah, that's the most.
There we go. First verse, I like it. Right. Asked it around the block.
Oh, yeah. All right, Coach Ashley, I'll start with you. Talk about your connection to Florida Southern. You mentioned that you're an alumni. How did it feel to come into a coaching position? And I know you started out around 2013 on the staff. Talk about how you've grown and how your position has grown.
For sure. So, yeah, definitely after I finished graduating, wanted to get into the coaching world. Was fortunate, worked under a coach who kind of just let me volunteer, kind of understand the realms of college soccer, and then just been working my way up, really. And then right before COVID, pretty much probably when this facility started, just got an opportunity. And just been really pleased to kind of see the program grow on and off the field, be surrounded by obviously good staff, good teammates, good players, and just trying to improve kind of our operation as we move forward.
And Coach Anthony, for you, what brought you to Florida Southern?
I've been at St. Francis for about 8 years, so I wanted another challenge. I wanted to kind of gain experience under somebody else, and then we had a prior relationship before, so just wanted to kind of explore that. And I'd always wanted to live in Florida. Came a little bit earlier than expected, but came at a really good time. So in my career, and also just kind of a better way of, or better life, kind of living down there as well. So was excited for it, and made the move.
Coach Ashley, for you, talk about your time as a player at Florida Southern and how your experience was on the roster.
So it seems like a long time ago now. It was great. I mean, some of my best mates now are kind of the guys we kind of came through the ranks with at Southern back in the late 2000s. Playing time and playing style wasn't probably the greatest in terms of the level of where the program was at, but I feel like there's been really good strides before my time as a head coach with the previous head coaches, and I'm just trying to kind of continue that growth as a program. We've always kind of struggled in terms of our league. Our league is very competitive. It's a top Division II conference, so we're just trying to improve the operations, really.
What are the rivalries like in your league? My dad always said that his rivalry in college was Rollins, said it was a rough one. What about you guys? What is your big rivalry?
I feel like every team in our league I just want to beat, but Tampa and Rollins for sure. They're the ones that administration and as a program we look to kind of circle and can we get results against these guys. Obviously this year, John came down and watched us against Tampa, which was great, getting a good victory. But yeah, they're definitely good competitive programs and good games for us as well.
Talk about that Tampa game. I did hear a lot about it, but tell the listeners what you're referring to.
John came down to kind of just see the campus. It's been a while. It was right after the hurricane. We've been off for a week, hadn't trained, and then we came at home, played against Tampa in a conference game, managed to get a good 1-0 victory, and it was just a good college game. I felt both teams probably could have won it. We scored a very good goal just kind of on the break, and then kind of hung on, defended really well. I remember Lasse making some good saves, and it was a good 3 points and a good win for us.
Coach Anthony, talk about the experience going through the hurricane as a team. That's something that not a lot of schools have to experience, but obviously being down in Florida, it's something that's always a possibility. How are you guys able to deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of it was on the guys. I thought they kind of banded together really well, especially having such a big amount of international kids on the team. It's not like they could just kind of go home. So I think a lot of our local lads done a really good job at getting everyone together, making sure everyone had a place to go, making sure they were safe. And then again, it's the hard thing you in season. So making sure you're kind of staying fit as best you can and ready to come back, because we didn't actually know a specific date on when we could return. So yeah, kind of dealing with that, and then on top of it, trying to figure out your classes and things like that. So yeah, the guys done really well. Administration done really well in communicating with us, making sure we were kind of on top of things. And then, yeah, I mean, just obviously staying in touch with everyone, making sure they were safe. And it was an interesting experience, one which I don't think we really want to go through again, but being in Florida, I think it's naturally going to happen.
Sure. Swinging over to our goalkeepers, talk about as players, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was my second hurricane, and it never gets old, to be honest. It's always a little bit interesting, but as the coaches said, like, we have a lot of cool kids who are like from the Florida area who took us in. We went to one of our teammates to Boca for the second time now. His family just takes 6 or 7 of us internationals in, and they don't ask any questions. There's always food on the table. It was just great to be like with the teammates. Brings us a lot closer, I think, like especially like this season we had a well start, I think, just to be like together with a lot of the kids and just spend time with each other, go for a run and just try to stay in shape to continue the season afterwards.
Absolutely.
I didn't go down to Boca. I went here to Orlando, had some family and friends down there. And so I kind of just stayed in the Orlando area. It was my first hurricane, so I'd never experienced anything like that before. I mean, I'm just now starting to tip off the like natural disasters that I've been in. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. I thought it was I thought it was going to be a lot worse than in the area I was, but we all luckily got through it and no severe damage. But no, it was a hard coming back as well, because we all kind of went separate ways. Like some people went there, some people went here, and we all just kind of had to come back and then continue our season in the short period of time, which I think was quite hard on us. But yeah, no, it wasn't too bad.
Coach Ashley, we'll switch back over to the soccer side. For you, as a player on the roster and now you're a coach, how are you able to relate maybe to your players more on a personal level being an alumni?
I feel that's maybe a question for these guys. But yeah, I mean, one of the big things for me is just try to almost create like that family atmosphere. I want us to have a good relationships with the guys. I think even coming up here, you know, the opportunity to get to know these guys a little bit better away from soccer, away from kind of the demands that are put on these student athletes in this day and age, I think is really important. So the connections, those relationships are important to me, important to the staff. We want to make sure that the environment for them is to have a great experience on the soccer field, but also like there's a reason that I went to Florida 7, stayed at Florida 7 and coaching at Florida 7. Like it was one of the greatest experiences I've had. So I want to be able to offer these guys that same kind of opportunity. So for me, it's just about a whole holistic kind of environment and just improving them as soccer players, but also people as well.
And then a question for either of you. When you guys go out and look for players that are potentially going to come and play at Florida Southern, what are some of the qualities you look for, whether it's a field player or a goalkeeper? What are you looking for to bring into your program?
I think we've kind of narrowed it down a lot. Of course, they need to be to the standard what we want as a player, but a massive part of it is character. Having 30 to 33 guys on a roster, it's difficult to manage at times. There's only 3 of us on staff, so having a good group of guys who can essentially problem solve themselves, are reliable, trustworthy. They're not going to get into trouble. Like by all means, they're going to go and have fun, but at the same time, is they understand that they're there, and playing a role, being an athlete, and then being kind of an extended part of the team in terms of what they're doing outside of it. So the recruit part of it is very. It's kind of hard when it's international because you're not kind of meeting them in person every single time. So you have to kind of be on the phone with them constantly. We're always on WhatsApp kind of talking to these guys, getting to know them on a personal level. And then, of course, going into kind of the way that we want to play as a player and adapting in that sense. But a huge part of it is the character.
And then in conjunction with that question, what brought you guys to Florida Southern? What was the level of interest for you? How was the recruiting process for both of you?
I think for me, it was a little bit different. And the fact that, so I went to a first school and had a big falling out with the previous coach, and he didn't necessarily treat the players how we wanted to. And also it was in the middle of West Virginia, and who wants to go to the middle of West Virginia? Closest city was Charlotte, which is 3 hours away. So I was like, got to the weekends, we're like, where do we go? Right, there's nothing to do. And I knew a lot of friends down in Florida. I knew a friend that was at Eckerd. I knew someone that was at FIU, and all that went to my school in England. And so I talked to them a lot about it, and they were like, Florida's the place to be. And so I remember when I was transferring, I was like, want somewhere a bit warmer, people I knew in the local kind of area. And so for me, it was also like trying to find somewhere where I could actually kind of like enjoy football again. But yeah, so that was pretty much why I transferred and ended up at Forest Southern.
Yeah, so I went straight to FSC. I was in Germany and I wasn't really sure what do I want to do. Do I want to keep on playing soccer at the highest level? But then you can't really get an education in Germany. It's really tough. And my parents were a big fan of me getting at least some kind of education. So then I was looking into coming to the USA, and I had an agency which helped me with it. But pretty much like the first or the second school I talked to was FSC. And then there was two other German guys who I then called with, and I spoke to Ash and Tony. And pretty much straight away I knew like, wow, this is something I want to do. This is like a school I want to go to. Have a good business program, which was a big part for me. And then, yeah, never regretted that decision. Had a really good decision with that, I think.
Absolutely. What was the transition like coming over to the United States for both of you?
For me, it was like so much new stuff. Like it took a little bit of time, definitely. Just the heat in Florida, which we could never seen in Germany like that. It was tough. I remember the first few practice sessions, I was completely exhausted of it. But no, the guys on the team made it pretty easy, to be honest. Just like everyone is so welcoming here, that was probably one of the biggest points for me. Like, of course, I was a little bit nervous and scared, but as soon as I got to see the first other guys at the airport, I lost my suitcase. That was the first thing I had. And I called my mom at like 4 a.m. in Germany. I was like, oh, can you help me? But then Victor, who was one of my closest friends, he helped me with all of that stuff. Made it all work, came to have a seat. Yeah.
I think for me, it was like having an English coach also helps. At my old school, I also had an English coach, and the vast majority of my old school was also English. So like the whole starting 11 was English. So it was, from that perspective, it was easier. And then also coming over to Florida, obviously having another English coach and English assistant as well, and then a couple of other guys on the team who are also English, it also helps. But I think for us internationals, it's very much a cultural change, and getting used to with how other people see the same things you see but differently, and just getting used to how they see that and having to adapt your life to then be able to see it that way as well is how I'll kind of see it.
And for the coaches, talk about recruiting players internationally, and then maybe how the transfer portal has impacted your program. You know, it's kind of new to the college sports realm. How do you guys utilize the transfer portal as well as finding international players?
It's hard. I think the transfer portal, obviously, when it opens for D1, the amount of players that go onto it is just crazy. It's hard to keep up with. So for us, in terms of the recruiting side of it, a lot of it's contacts. People who we trust, people who've built relationships over the last 10, 12 years. Because it's quite impossible, unless you've got a full-time staff member to constantly scour the transfer portal, it's going to be very, very difficult. And then kind of going through the whole process of finding out more information about them, watching video on them. So a lot of it is down to our contacts. We have had instances where we've got a kid from the portal that's worked out, we've got a kid from the portal that maybe hasn't worked out, or we've received an email from someone. So there's a number of ways in which we do recruit, maybe more heavily on one side than the other. But we're always kind of trying to find new ways of finding players, finding new places to go, new tournaments. So still trying to figure out a few niches in different states to try and break into that. But I think, with the surrounding states around Florida, I think we're doing a pretty good job. And internationally as well, it's a little bit easier to get an international kid to Florida than it is to, maybe another state that's landlocked. So in that respect, we kind of have that. But again, it's just kind of going out and finding new ways and making the best out of the portal. But it just makes life a lot more difficult.
And then Coach Ashley, for you, heading into the spring and you're heading into your season coming up in the fall, what are you guys looking forward to this upcoming year going into your spring season?
I think at the moment there's a lot of excitement in terms of definitely wasn't the year that we probably expected or wanted to have at the start of 2024, but I also think it's been a good, personally for myself, a nice little reset. It's kind of me kind of evaluate maybe some bits of the program that wasn't quite working, maybe some different strategies we can use for recruiting. So I'm excited now to see kind of like the progress, the growth. I think we've got a great group of guys right now. The training in the first few weeks of the spring's been probably at a different level to what we experienced with some of the fall. So I know the guys are excited to play. We've got some great Division 1 kind of opponents coming up. We're going to test this group. We're very small right now in terms of our numbers just because of the amount of guys that graduated. But like Antony was saying, we've, I think, done a really good job in terms of looking and identifying players who fit us maybe a little bit better in terms of the transfer portal, incoming freshmen. So we've been a little bit more intentional in our recruiting, and I think it'll be a good class who kind of suit maybe our style and what we want to do moving forward. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Obviously, as a head coach, you look forward to every matchup, but going into this year, you mentioned you have some strong D1 opponents. What are some matchups that you can pinpoint that your team is really looking forward to this year?
Yeah, so the spring is just a great opportunity where we just kind of let guys kind of go out and showcase themselves. Like, obviously the results don't really matter.
Sure.
It's more about the process and continuing to get better. We've got, Florida Gulf Coast, who are a good Division 1 opponent. At UCF, who are probably one of the best teams in Florida right now. So putting these guys against them in competitive environments, I think we'll really kind of see, have we progressed over the past 4 or 5 months, and then can we take that through the summer leagues that these boys will be playing in into the fall with, probably about 14, 15 new players.
You talk about summer leagues. Where are some of the leagues that you send your players or would like them to go play in the summer league that you'd be looking for?
So a lot of the lads now look for obviously USL2, NPSL, all around the country really. Some of the internationals go back home and kind of jump into maybe pre-season training with some of the teams back in their native countries. But the hardest thing is stopping kind of playing mid-April and then not playing until August. It's a long time. So I've seen over the past years, if you play in the summer, it just propels you in terms of not only the standard of kind of your game, but also from a fitness standpoint. And realistically, like Lasse said, just kind of getting used to kind of the USA heat in the summer.
And for you guys, what are you guys looking forward to going into the spring as players?
I think for me, it's actually my first actual spring. So I've been here 3 years. My first school, I transferred, so I didn't have a spring. And then my first year, Florida Southern, I got injured and had surgery, so I couldn't train at all. And so for me, this is my first actual ever spring season. So I think for me, it's actually playing and during the spring that is more exciting to me than maybe the games that we actually have coming up, because it's like I've never had that before, and so it's the opportunity that I didn't have before, so that I can now live. But yeah, obviously we have got some good opponents coming up, and it'll be a good test for us. And some may not go our way, some may go our way, but it's all how we react about how those happen and how we do and test ourselves really.
Yeah, to be honest, most excited about just starting to play again. There's such a big break here always, and I just want to be on the field again, playing and competitive. I think the schedule we have this spring is probably the best we had the last years I've been here, playing against UCF and Jacksonville University. Just cool to play against the guys who are at D1, already the highest level. Just compare where we're standing compared to them. But to be honest, I'm looking even more forward to the next season already. I want to play against the other guys in conference. I think there's some games which didn't go away last year that we definitely going to win this year. There's some teams I'm already looking forward to play against. So can't wait for conference to start again. Prove us.
So talk about that upcoming season. What are your expectations for the year? What are you looking for out of your team?
I think the spring helped us just to be really close as a team. As I said, not a lot of players, but we are really tight. I'm looking forward to bring some guys in, but then just stay close as a team. And I think we really have a good team going on now. I think we definitely can make it to the tournament. Then from there, it's always one game can go both ways. I, to be honest, want to host a playoff game at home. While last year, no, I think it's time to make something happen at the school. Just create some buzz on the summer program. Have some fun.
I think from the team's perspective, it's like Lasse saying that we have 16 players now on our team, and when there is more of you, the team has some divides in the team where there's maybe some people who are older who stick together, and then there's the younger group, and Whereas now we have such a small group that no matter where people go, everyone goes together, and which is nice. And I guess it's also for goals for the season. It's obviously we try and get to the conference tournament and then host a home game in conference tournament. I think was a big thing. But yeah, I think that's like goals for next season is host a home conference game. But I think it's hard to tell what can happen next year when we don't know how many people or who we're bringing in, when we don't know half of our team maybe yet. But no, it's that's the aim of home conference tournament game. So yeah.
When you guys are in season, what is a typical training session like for goalkeepers at Florida Southern?
Well, it depends really. I think depending on the day and like how close to before a game we are, and obviously have a goalkeeper warm up for maybe like 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll go into maybe some like progressions and finishing. Usually before a game we'll do some finishing, and then we'll maybe play a bit at the end, like starting 11 will play, and then the other 11 will play as how the team we're playing will play. So try and get used to how they may play us, and yeah, that's usually what our training session before a game like with time.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference for you from Europe is that you don't really get a whole week to prepare for the next opponent. Like in our conference, it's pretty much play Wednesday, play next Saturday, play Wednesday, play Saturday. There's not a lot of time, so you kind of like can just work on minor details. I mean, obviously with the guys who don't play as much, you can do some more sessions, but it's pretty much just like getting ready for the next opponent right away. Working on like some things you maybe like saw in the strikers from the next team, or like some things we did bad the game before. It's always like nice to work on like little details about like putting too much load on the body.
And for both of you coaches, what do you guys take into account when you're planning your training sessions? And does it differ per opponent, per player? How do you guys schedule your training sessions?
I think it's something we're always looking to try and evaluate, improve on. I definitely think we've done a better job in the previous maybe year and a half of taking a little bit longer to really evaluate where the group's at, what do we need to improve in certain areas. In season, obviously, like the lads were saying, the time between games and the next games with training sessions, it's very hard to really get on the training field and put in a lot of work. So it's more about the little details. We'll do a good job in terms of our preparation, in terms of the opponents. Probably at time maybe too much information, but we'll try and get that information to the lads in many avenues, whether it's on the field, video work, whether it's group settings, team settings. A lot of the things we'll do is about trying to win games and how we can do that. So the training load in the fall is a lot different to the spring right now. The spring's a lot more about individual development, group development, away from more about being worried about the opponent. This spring we won't really know kind of what formation we're playing, what the other team is looking like. It'll be more just kind of concentrating ourselves on how we can get better in certain areas.
Coach Johnny, for you, when you go through your week, talk about how you personally prepare for opponents and what you talk to your guys about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of format you go through is pretty much the same. Obviously, the detail and the information you're given is a little different every time. But yeah, I think in the years past, we've kind of lent more towards breaking down the opponent and figuring out what they're doing instead of kind of going 50-50 what we need to improve on. So yeah, I think as our relationship kind of grows, I think it's developed now into how can we be better in the game from the previous one, and how can we also break them down and what are they good at. So yeah, I think along with the training side of it and the kind of scouting side, it's broken down into bite-sized chunks as best we can, with giving the information which is enough, but also without overloading it. But giving it on the opponent, on what they're good at, set pieces, things like that, and then with us as well. But I think because we don't have so much time to train, we try and, I say, break it down into bite-sized quarters, but we do it in units. So it could be defenders going to do a session, fielders, forwards, and then after that we kind of come together. But honestly, a lot of it is reliant on the guys as well, because there's only 2 or 3 sessions before in between games. They have to be able to take on all the information and process it and then use it within the session, and then also put it into a game. So we're heavy on video, always trying to get the guys to watch video, and whether it be 20-30 minute clips, and try and see what they can do individually, as a group, and then that way for us it helps because it gives them a better idea when we try and implement a training plan or give them that information. They can relate it to what they've seen on the video. So it's a work in progress just because of, the amount of stuff that we try and give them and that we're available to. But we try and keep it as professional as possible and make it as easy for them as possible. But it's, always having to study the game, always trying to outdo the opponent. It's always an evolving circle.
Do you feel preparing for your conference is different than preparing for non-conference games? Obviously, you've all mentioned that your conference is super tough and you want to make a splash this year. What's it like preparing for conference games compared to non-conference?
We try and keep it as similar as possible. We try and keep it in the same routine, do the same way we break down video. We don't try and change too much. If it's something really, really drastic, then yeah, we can kind of make it known. But from kind of day one of preseason to the last day, we try and keep everything, especially with breakdown, the same. I think nowadays things kind of get mixed a little. If you give them too much information, sometimes they forget it. So we try and keep it all a little bit as simple as possible for them. That way for us as well, when we're breaking down film, it's easier for us to then give to them and kind of help them digest it. So, I mean, yeah, do you put a little bit more emphasis on the conference games? I think that's just natural because those are the games that kind of count in your league.
Sure.
So, yeah, in that sense, but in terms of preparation, training, things like that, no, everything's for the most part kept pretty much the same.
Sticking on the topic of training for you guys, you're here in Ohio, you're training at Kronis Academy. Talk about your first session here at Kronis and what your initial thoughts of the beautiful state of Ohio is.
I mean, didn't see that much from Ohio yet. I'm pretty happy about the snow. It's a nice difference to the sun.
You're happy about it? Wow.
That's 2 days. I'll be at the beach on Monday.
Fair enough.
So I can have some snow for a few days.
Sure.
No, but practice-wise, it's really exciting. A little bit different approach to what I've had like in my goalkeeping sessions, before. Really like the shooting machines. The intensity was really high. So I think it's going to be a lot of work over the next 2 days, but it's perfect. We're going to get a lot out of it. It's really exciting, to be honest, just to be somewhere I'll see like how other people are training and get into working.
I think I'm lucky enough that I've been to Ohio a few times before. Not this part, I've never been here, but I think from coming here and coming and experiencing how you guys train in, for example, like Lasse said about the machines that you use, it's that consistency of the service you're always getting is what stands out to what probably we've ever had before. Like, because we can serve to each other and we're reasonably good at it, but like it's that consistency. It's every single time you're getting the exact same service. And so you're getting those reps in before when, say, someone messes up a service, you then miss out on that. Whereas here, you're constantly getting it no matter what, in which I think for you guys is such a good thing that you guys can have, whereas we down in Florida, we don't have that. And so it's a very good facility to have down here, and it's very nice. And yeah, we have a tougher, a rude awakening is what I would say. But no, it was a very good session. Probably enjoyed it, and yeah, no, can't wait for this afternoon.
How about you guys? Talk about your experience with Kronis Academy so far. Obviously, you've had prior connections with John. Talk about how that came to be and how you are here.
Yeah, no, we just appreciate the invitation. Obviously, state-of-the-art facility. Really fortunate to kind of bring two guys up here. Obviously, bring Antony as well. Just a great weekend to kind of get away as a small group, have an environment where these guys can train and get 4 sessions in 2 days, whilst also working on kind of just connections between players and staff. Like, it's one of those experiences that not too many programs get. The facility is unbelievable. Like, I can see the rise of kind of this goalkeeper academy, and hopefully moving forward how you guys could kind of move it on. But yeah, we're looking forward to kind of seeing the boys in another session. The guys, they worked really hard this morning. The machines of throwing those balls out probably a little bit quicker than I thought. It was a different angle when I was standing behind it rather than in front of it. You can see kind of the pace. But, the guys who worked with our boys, obviously went through the session. They had the high intensity. I'd be interested to see if it's that same intensity tomorrow afternoon. But now we're just really thankful that you guys invited us up here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's great to see them getting them put through their paces, but even just kind of seeing a different way of like the coaching side of it, or different kind of techniques that they use, or as Lasse said, it's just different ways of going about things, which for us, again, if it comes down to it and we need to jump into a session, then we can kind of develop ideas. But even just little things like when they kind of warm up with the wall, is just incorporating that side of it. You know, you start thinking like, how can we incorporate it with players, and the field side of it. So it's definitely eye-opening. Looking forward to this afternoon session. But yeah, those machines are something else.
What else are you guys hoping to see out of your goalkeepers while you're up here in Ohio? Some things that you could take back to Florida heading into your season.
Yeah, I think we'll know a bit more tomorrow. Because again, it's been a while since you've had 2 sessions in a day. Last time was preseason, right? Yeah. So I think tomorrow more side, when they start getting a bit more tired and a little bit more maybe sore, kind of seeing what they can push themselves to. I think again, if they can take 1 or 2 things technically away from here, great, and they can work on it. So yeah, I think for their development it's huge, but also kind of just their mindset as well, and figuring out what can make them better in a competitive environment.
If you guys could pinpoint one thing that you're looking to improve upon personally, maybe that you could work on here while you're here in Ohio, talk about that.
I think one thing I'd say it's more mental side of being a goalkeeper is very tough mentally, and like Tony was saying, the fact that last time we've had 2 1.5 hour sessions in one day, let alone 4 over 2 days, I think will be very tough on our body. But it's also the mental part that I'm going to try and push myself to, is being able to constantly not just get tired. And like, I know that we both know that we're going to get tired, but like, is being able to just then push through it. That's what I'm trying to get out of this.
I think like really utilizing the machines and like this consistent serving without getting too technical, like from goalkeeping perspective, but like working off my setting and my shape, like attacking a ball, like going slightly forward instead of like being straight or going back a little bit, just having the ability of like going through like 20 reps in like 5 minutes and just like consistently working at it, looking at it, and then changing up to when it's almost like perfect. I think that's the most exciting thing, and just being able to like get it in your minds like in 2 days, because there's just so many reps like with the ball, consistent serving. Like I think that's what I want to work on, and I think it's already starting to.
And as we get ready to close out, we'll go down the line, starting with you, Coach Ashley. It can be as a coach, as a player, anything. If you could pinpoint one game from your career that you just look back on and have amazing memories of, what would it be? And that would be the same for all of you.
I think probably, and it's come up a few times in the past year, there was a game, I think when I first started being an assistant coach, we won in overtime down at Lynn, and I have a very good connection with the player who scored that, who's battling some health issues, but I always remember when he scored that goal, and I think we've only beat Lynn 3 times in our history, and winning that game, and the boys celebrating in the corner. And these guys will know I try and be very control my emotions on the sidelines. I've definitely worked on both sides of it, and in that game, when we scored the winner, I ran past their bench to celebrate, and I think that'll be the one and only time I do that. So definitely, looking back, that was a great moment, and one that will definitely live with me.
I say mine was as a player. I was playing at Fairleigh Dickinson, second round of the national tournament, and then we ended up beating St. Louis, who were ranked number 8, I think, in the country at the time. Beat them in double overtime, and I'd never seen 2,000 fans leave the stadium so quickly. And we were getting berated by a couple of diehards, and it was just great to kind of take it in. But yeah, I think just beating a team away from home is up there, one of the best feelings.
I think for me, I mean, might be a bit different for me not being at FSC like my entire college career or so far. Not that I'm retiring anytime soon. But I'd say from Florida Southern, I'd say when we played Rollins and when they were ranked number 10, I think it was that's quite a big one. And then as a player, I guess at my old school, it was the experience of playing people like Charleston, who are ranks #1 in the country, and those games, I guess, also define how you may know they may not go your way, but it's the experience you take from that and how you deal with that thing is really what for me.
Yeah, for me, I think it's maybe 2 games. My very last game in Germany, I knew it before. That was my last game. It was a State Cup final. I had my whole family there. It was a national holiday, so pretty much everyone had time to come there. Was in front of 1,000, 2,000 people. We won the State Cup final in overtime. Just I remember it was the 96 minutes or 6 minutes of overtime. One of my good friends got a bicycle kick. I was just sprint it the whole way down the field. Celebrating with him, and then afterwards had to go to the bench, pretend I'm injured to catch my peep. Catch the break. That was perfect. Amazing end to playing in Germany. And then here at FSC, honestly, I think it's a Tampa game that we mentioned before. Coming from the Hurricane, didn't play much before that, but then got thrown into the game and I think did a really good job. Had some big saves, and just as a whole team, we had a few games of losing or tying, to see how much a win does you mood, and everyone celebrating afterwards in front of some alumni as well. It's pretty cool to notice here we are now in Ohio because an alumni kind of made this possible, flying us in, still so connected to FSC. I just know how much the program does mean to some people, makes everyone a little bit more important. So definitely gives you a lot of motivation as well to have a good season, let's see.
We'll sneak it back this way. I'll start with you. What is your favorite professional club and why?
To be honest, it's a League 2 team in Germany, Cologne. My dad took me there since I was 3 years old. Everything he did on the weekend was just go out there for hours, watch the game, come back late at night. My mom didn't really like that, I think, but just reconnected with that club. So yeah, Cologne, I see Cologne in Germany.
I'm gonna have to say similar reasons to last, but I'm gonna say Tottenham because my dad, he's had season tickets, and he's had season tickets since he was 20 years old, and he goes to every single game. I guess he's always used to take me as well. So no, I've had some good experience out of Tottenham. Not necessarily doing too well at the moment, but we ignore that part. But yeah, no, Tottenham is probably up there. I think the most important elements in our good mind. Last ones to say around the thing.
Take you away from the other side, but knowing that we are in Ohio, I gotta express how happy I was at Ohio State won a football championship.
Excellent choice.
So, just gonna make sure to say that we got Ohio State football. So, really happy about that.
Love it.
Liverpool's my team.
Good choice.
My dad got me into it when I was a kid, but it's strange because my brother and my mum are Man United fans. So I think he really wanted me to kind of be with him and stick with him against me, mum and my brother. But he took me to some games as a kid, kind of stuck with, and I've been watching them since.
So I can say that probably the first time in about 30 years I can say this with pride. I'm a Nottingham Forest fan, so obviously we're rolling right now, and I'm pleased to see the kind of near the top of the league. But yeah, for a lot of my childhood watching Forest in the lower leagues, League One, the Championship, it's good to see the boys are back with the big boys.
All right, final thoughts before we wrap out from each of you. Talk about what you're looking forward to, what you've experienced so far at Kronis Academy, and anything else you want to say before we close out.
So yeah, obviously from a soccer standpoint, just seeing the boys, like they were saying, going through the training, I think the mental load, the physical load, I think will be real telling as they go into the spring breaks. Still, from an outside standpoint, want to see a bit more snow. Hopefully not too much that our flight gets delayed, but it's definitely a nice change for us. And then hopefully at some point we'll be able to go out a little bit and just kind of explore the surrounding areas, but just getting to know these guys a little bit better and just spending time with them.
Yeah, I think touching on what Tommy said before, just kind of seeing how far these lads can push themselves. It'll definitely be interesting to see in the fourth session tomorrow. But just seeing them develop and kind of push themselves mentally. Outside of here, I've seen Ohio before, not Cleveland that much, but yeah, would be intrigued to see what Cleveland has to offer. And I think from Ohio's perspective, I've never been this far north. I've been to Columbus, I've been to Springfield, been to Dayton,
I went east part of Ohio with my old school. But I guess going out and seeing maybe a bit of Columbus would be something I'd like to do. Also just spending time with these 4 people. I don't usually get to spend time with just the 4 of us. It's actually quite funny. Like, and especially spending an Airbnb with them's like eye-opening. I mean, this guy's going up to a kicky jar was like non-stop.
Who's he pointing at? Who's he pointing at?
He lights up to. I mean, the 2 of them between them, there's none left. Golly, we just threw another bit. Great, there's won't do before. You're so under the bus already. But no, it is good fun, and no, I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far, and I look forward to the remainder sessions and spending time with these guys a little bit more, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a like really funny clip. Right? Just to have Tommy's back. It's really funny seeing how Tommy eats a salad. Sometimes on it eat, on we touched was a salami, I think. But so I said, no, it's just really great to be here. See another state. Can go back home and tell people I've been to Ohio. But so that's amazing. Send my family some pictures. They're all kind of jealous. And then the practice here was great. Looking forward to the next sessions. Hope it's gonna be not too hard on nobody's, but I guess it's probably gonna be. Again, just want to say thank you for the possibility to practice here, to be here. It's great. Everyone is nice to us. Everyone is like excited to be here. The other Goalkeeping kids, like great quality here. So I think for all of us, could say thank you to be here, to having this experience, which I don't think, as I said, a lot of soccer programs have, especially D2. So it feels pretty cool to be here, having this opportunity.
Absolutely. We're super excited to have you here and hope you enjoy the rest of your experience in Ohio, Kronis Academy, everything else you get to see and do. Once again, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And this has been the Breaking Lanes podcast, sponsored by Kronis Academy and Robby Vallarelli in the Visual Kingdom, and we'll see you next time. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Can we actually take a quick picture really quick for my Instagram?
Put it up to you. Hold it like that, yeah.
There you go. You want to get in this, Dad? You want to get in it? Yeah.
Looking at everyone's outside laughing.
Not to laugh.
When Tony first started talking, like Tom was like.
3, 2, 1.
All right, and then last thing I'll have you guys do, you can get up, you're good.
They're going to sign stuff.
Yeah. Just have you guys all sign the Kronis kit. Everybody I've had on, you can sign wherever.
So talk about what? When you were like, oh, another state, I couldn't withhold it. Go on, Lasse, you go first. No, I just couldn't withhold it.
First started talking, he was like,
Yeah, where was that?
Nope, anywhere you want.
I saw him like shaking. I was like, what's going on? To laugh, and I was just like.
Then I was like, honestly, after that, because the first time I talked, I was kind of looking this way. After that, I'm not looking over there, because Tom was like laughing all the time.
I can't believe we broke out at the end and started talking about the picky
I
girl.
know.
I'm still in character.
Change
That's so
in
cool.
the bathroom, and then I'll have to change in over there. So yeah. Get ready to go there on the other side right there. Ready to go? Yep. Okay. Perfect timing.
What? Nothing. Get the gaffer sign it. That'd be worth a lot of money for you. You've been doing this podcast long?
I started it my senior year in college, but I just got really busy and kind of took some time off from it. So this is like my 3rd month, like consistently doing it.
Nice.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, for sure.
Nice to meet you.
You too.